Elizabeth Holmes was the world's youngest self-made female billionaire, described as the next Steve Jobs from her revolutionary medical testing company.
And we'd like to see a world in which every person gets access to this type of basic testing.
So she founded this company, Theranos, that said it could revolutionize blood testing. And her whole thing was, why do you need to take so much blood? Couldn't you get a blood test on just a pinprick of blood? So the way that Theranos worked is you would just take a little bit of blood from your finger and it would test that for lots of diseases. And the idea would be easier, quicker, cheaper. You could do it anyway. You wouldn't have to go and see a doctor. But it turned out that this taking a teeny pinprick of blood isn't actually enough blood to test for these things.
Theranos employees told us they were instructed to stage fake demonstrations for investors who visited company headquarters.
It was kind of a show. All they would see was their blood getting collected. They didn't see what was going on behind closed doors about how it was processed.
This has obviously created a huge scandal, and it led to lots of people allegedly getting the incorrect test results. People were told that they were miscarrying when actually they were healthily pregnant. And other people were told that they had HIV when actually they didn't.
A man who goes by the initials RC right now in Arizona, who is suggesting that the lab results that he got from Theranos were not accurate, and it led to him having a heart attack. Based on what you know, is it possible that what he's saying is true?
I'm not the lab director, and so
Elizabeth Holmes quickly became a big player in Silicon Valley. She had invented something new, and that's sort of everything that Silicon Valley is about. And people were saying, could she be the next Steve Jobs? You know, would this medical testing thing do for the medical industry what Apple had done for technology? You know, she was being compared to sort of the iPhone moment. And she was also, in that same way, you know, very charismatic, and she would do these TED Talks. She had managed to convince regulators, both medical and financial, that this worked. And more than that, she'd convinced some of the world's most famous and richest people to pump lots of money into her company, including Rupert Murdoch, Henry Kissinger, you know, some of the really big names.
Elizabeth Holmes is now a convicted felon. A jury found the former biotech CEO guilty of 4 conspiracy and fraud charges for swindling her investors.
The allegations of fraud against Holmes date back several years, and it all sort of came out into the public, started coming out to the public in 2015 when Wall Street Journal investigative journalists first started looking into the sort of reliability of these tests. And then there were more and more stories, and that's when investors got spooked, and they figured out that actually maybe this company isn't really doing what it says it does. She is very likely to spend a considerable amount of time in prison. We don't know how long yet. We'll have to wait for the sentencing hearing. It will probably be in about 6 months, and we have to wait until a second trial of her partner is concluded as well. But on the charges that she's been found guilty of, she could face 20 years for each one. The case is seen as not just a trial on Elizabeth Holmes, but a trial on the culture of Silicon Valley. It's exposed this fake it till you make it culture in Silicon Valley, where the founders of companies can sometimes exaggerate what their inventions or what they founded can do in order to convince investors to come on board. And investors sometimes are so scared of missing out on like the next Facebook or the next Apple that even if they've got doubts, they might invest anyway because they've got FOMO that they might miss the next Apple.